Under the cold waters of the Atlantic, millions of giant spider crabs from depths of more than 400 meters have suddenly flooded the American coast, appearing densely off the coast of New England and California. In just a few years, their numbers have increased from a few thousand to more than 3.2 million, causing the biggest ecological invasion in a decade. Fishermen are worried, scientists warn, and traders call this a $200 million gold mine, when each spider crab can sell for up to $60 US. Is this a disaster from the deep, or is an unprecedented economic fortune emerging with this wave of invasion? Go discover Spider Crab Invasion, the $200 million harvest invading America's coasts. Lurking in the cold waters of more than 2,000 feet, the spider crab, also known as the giant spider crab, has long been considered a ghost of the ocean. It lives mainly around Japan, Australia, and the South Atlantic, where temperatures are harsh and light is almost impenetrable. With pincers that can reach 13.12 feet long and a lifespan of over 100 years, the spider crab is both ancient and terrifying, a witness to ancient ice ages. As the ocean warms, the giant crab's habitats change. The Gulf Stream, a warm ocean current that runs along the east coast of the United States, becomes a natural pathway for millions of giant spider crabs to leave the southern hemisphere and move north. They followed the current as if swept across the ocean and finally appeared off the coast of New England. It was then that the Americans realized this was not just a random movement, but a clear sign that the ocean was changing. When spider crabs began to spread off the east coast of the United States, the first nets not only brought up strange creatures, but also a fishing frenzy like no other. Fishermen from Maine to Massachusetts flocked to the sea, in cold seas and thick fog, hunting for giant eight-legged crabs as if chasing gold at the bottom of the ocean. Fishing boats that had been abandoned after the snow season were refitted, their nets reinforced to withstand the weight of each 100-pound catch. Each time the net was pulled, hundreds of giant spider crabs were dumped onto the deck, their legs and claws waving like an army of steel. Fishermen had to work all night in the bitter cold because a delay of just a few hours could change the market price by $1. American seafood companies quickly jumped into action, setting up purchasing stations right at the port, installing freezing systems and cold containers to preserve the crabs immediately after leaving the sea. A series of cargo ships carried spider crabs to Boston, New York, then across the ocean to Tokyo and Seoul, where they were sold as high-end delicacies for up to $60 each. In just 1 year, spider crab catches increased tenfold, creating a massive revenue stream exceeding $200 million, all from a creature once considered a biological threat. From the ice-covered decks, the sirens echoing through the mist, to the refrigerated containers leaving the port, it is said that each spider crab pulled up is a check from the seabed. And in this new race, fishermen are the gold miners of the ocean. But behind the $200 million spider crab craze lies a truth colder than the deep waves crashing on America's shores. Because the giant eight-legged creatures aren't just profitable, they're disrupting the ancient order of the ocean. Invaded, coral reefs have been torn apart, small fish have disappeared, and once rich waters have been reduced to cold mud, hollow shells, and an eerie silence. A once colorful world has turned into a gray ocean desert. Scientists call this the disequilibrium effect, when an invasive species grows so large that it disrupts the entire ecosystem, making it impossible for native species to survive. And when nature is out of balance, humans will also suffer the consequences of their own actions. Because the ocean is not just a source of seafood, it is also a fragile life system that keeps the Earth stable. But today, in the race for profit, we are unintentionally tilting that balance, and we may be the first to pay the price. When giant spider crabs began spreading and disrupting the seafood industry, Massachusetts took a bold approach. Instead of exterminating them, they incorporated them into the production line, turning the invader into a valuable resource. Inside coastal factories, batches of spider crabs are processed, shelled, and frozen using state-of-the-art technology. The fresh crab meat is packaged and processed into a variety of products: soups, crab cakes, canned meat, and premium restaurant ingredients. Step by step, a new industry is emerging, where fishermen, engineers, and chefs work together to take advantage of a seemingly endangered seafood resource. From seemingly invasive creatures, the ocean teaches us a lesson in adaptation and limits. Subscribe to Go Discover and discover the stories the sea whispers beneath the waves. And we begin in the Caribbean, where death doesn't always come from rough waves, but from the very thing humans need most to survive: air. From above, the Caribbean appears like an endless blue silk, dotted with white sand and brilliant coral reefs. But beneath the shimmering water is a completely different world, where the human life clock is measured by each breath. In Belize, Honduras, and the Bahamas, lobster divers make a living through a job that is both arduous and extremely dangerous. Each dive only brings in a few dozen dollars, but to earn that money, they have to plunge to a depth of about 131 feet, where the water pressure is heavy on the chest, and every second down there is a gamble with life. Their equipment? Usually just a years-old air tank, a crude air hose from the boat's compressor, bare feet gripping the seabed, and a net to collect lobsters. No pressure gauges, no spare tanks, no modern wetsuits. If the air hose gets stuck in coral or breaks, it's all over in seconds. Down below, danger lurks everywhere. Getting stuck in crevices while chasing lobsters, getting disoriented among dense coral reefs, or worst of all, suffering decompression sickness when ascending too quickly, causing air bubbles to form in the blood and destroying the nervous system. According to Safety at Sea, hundreds of divers in the Caribbean are seriously injured or killed each year while on the job. And the actual number is likely much higher, as not all accidents are reported. Ironically, most of these lobsters are not destined for their own dinner tables, nor do they appear in local markets. Instead, they travel thousands of miles to luxury restaurants in New York, Paris, or Tokyo, where each lobster sells for dozens of times the amount the diver risked his life to catch it. And if you think working on the surface of the ocean is safer than on the bottom of the ocean, just wait until we hit winter in Alaska, where the cold not only tests human endurance, but can kill an adult in less than 5 minutes. In the middle of the Bering Sea in winter, the water surface is no longer white-capped waves, but covered with a meter-thick layer of ice. From above, the scene looked like an endless white desert, so cold that the sound of the wind whistling through thick layers of clothing sounded like small blades cutting into the skin. To reach this treasure, fishermen must drill through the ice, creating round black doors in the vast white background. The job As the cage was pulled up, the ice around the edge of the hole cracked and water rushed onto the deck, slippery as oil. One slip and the body would be sucked into the black water, where consciousness would disappear in just 60 seconds and death would come before a cry for help could be called. Face and eyes, and your hands go numb even when wrapped in multiple layers of gloves. And as if that weren't harsh enough, the weather in the Bering Sea is a constant betrayal of sailors. A clear sky can be swallowed by a blizzard in a matter of minutes, turning the deck of a ship into a whiteout where directions are meaningless and every step is potentially dangerous. And for the men who stick around, each crab pulled from the ice hole is not only worth hundreds of dollars, but is living proof that they have defeated the cruelty of polar nature, at least for that day. But at least in Alaska, you're only fighting ice. In your next job, you're up against an apex predator that's been dominating the ocean for hundreds of millions of years. And the scariest part is, it rarely hunts alone.
I ain't going anywhere. That's a fat blue. Oh no, it looked bigger. No. Oh, you both got blue heads? Oh, no, he's got a normal rest.
In the middle of the South Pacific, small, old wooden ships drift dozens of nautical miles from shore with only the sky and the sea as companions. There are no giant nets or industrial winches on deck. The fishermen's only weapons here are a wrist-thick fishing line, a few shiny steel hooks, and calloused hands accustomed to salt and fish blood. Their target is not mackerel or tuna, but sharks, predators that have existed since the dinosaur era, possessing perfect killing instincts. They lowered their hooks deep into the deep water, waiting in silence, listening only to the sound of waves and the creaking of wood. As the rope began to vibrate violently, the worker rushed to the side of the ship, wrapped the rope around his arms, and braced himself against the terrible pull from below. Each jerk seemed to break his wrist, and the cold sea water splashed straight into his face. Suddenly the sea exploded into a white whirlpool. A giant black shadow rose up, thrashing violently, its white teeth flashing under the bright sunlight. The rope was so taut it looked like it was about to snap, and its bare hands were bleeding, but it still held on tight. The shark twisted and lunged toward the side of the ship, sending water rushing up onto the deck, turning every step into a dangerous slide. When it was finally hauled up, its heavy body slammed against the deck, shaking the boat. But this victory always came at a high price. Hundreds of fishermen each year were injured, from deep cuts to missing fingers, and worse, thrown overboard into the sea among bloodsick sharks. For them, this is not just a profession, but a survival test, where just a moment of delay in tightening the rope, avoiding blows, or maintaining balance can cost them their lives. However, the shark's teeth are not necessarily the greatest danger. In the next profession, the real killer has no eyes, no consciousness, just thousands of lifeless hooks waiting silently beneath the waves. After facing the steel teeth of sharks, we go further, to the heart of the Pacific Ocean, where the danger no longer comes from living creatures, but from the deadly tools created by humans. Here, long-line fishing boats specializing in hunting bluefin tuna drop fishing lines, tens of kilometers long into the sea, floating under the waves like an invisible maze. On each piece of wire, thousands of steel hooks glisten in the sunlight, both inviting and threatening anything that accidentally touches them. Each hook is a deadly trap, strong enough to hold a tuna weighing more than 661 pounds, but also ready to drag a human to the bottom of the sea. Just one slip on the wet deck, or one loop of rope around your ankle, and the full weight of the ocean will plunge you into the water in seconds, amid waves as high as an incoming wall of steel. When a fish is hooked, the wire is taut like a guitar string, vibrating violently before releasing violent jerks. The hook can shoot back like an arrow, piercing through flesh, slicing deep to the bone, or breaking a finger in the blink of an eye. The sound of crashing waves, the screeching of steel cables, and the shouts of sailors mix together to create a song of danger. Every step on the deck is a test of reflexes, running as fast as you can to pull the rope, but also avoiding sudden jumps, because just 1 second of distraction can end a career or even a life. However, the danger has never been a strong enough reason for them to give up. A qualified bluefin tuna can sell for tens of thousands of dollars in the Japanese market, making each haul a huge gamble, where rewards and risks always go hand in hand.